It's snowing outside. I can't believe it's actually snowing outside this early. Anyway, it's becoming winter very quickly, and fall is like quickly fading away somehow, which means it's time to pick my 10 before the end, which is like a book tag, but I'm kind of doing it differently this year. And I mean, it's a pretty simple book tag. It's usually just like, tell us what your 10 books are that you have to read or want to read before the end of the year. I haven't decided yet, so we're going to do that together. And I know I definitely have more than 10 books, so we'll see if I can narrow it down somehow, and maybe I'll have you help me do that. So I'm going to start with the obvious, the things that like I need to or required to or feel like are definitely going to be finished or that I most want to get to. I don't know. The easiest one, Clarissa. I am, I think, a matter of 20 pages from the end of this book. Not even. I think 12. And I could finish it today if I wanted to, which is quite the feat. But I'm going to drag it out because I'm reading this novel on the day that the letters are dated. It's an epistolary novel. It is a book full of letters, and each letter has a date on it. It takes place over the course of just 1 year, starting, I want to say, on January 4th and ending on December 10th. And that is my goal. So these last few pages are just going to be eked out. And it is what it is. But it's definitely getting read before the end of the year. So book one, I'll put it there so you can see it. Now, other things that I have going on. I have a reading challenge that I'm doing that definitely is going to keep moving forward. And so that is my high school required reading challenge that I am doing with my friend Alex. And I think we're going to read the next book in that before the end of the year. I don't know, because we also buddy read a lot. And we have a lot on our plate to buddy read. So we may finish out those. Let me start with those. Here are the books that I have that I know I'm buddy reading. I think this is the only book. No, I have one other. Oh my gosh, I thought I was organized. I'm not organized. Let me get out my bucket of books. Here we go. Okay, I put in there, yes, under my coffee table, even though I have bookshelves, um, all the books that I know are like coming up on my TBR. And I already saw one in there that I forgot. Okay, so I mentioned reading challenges. I am doing the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do. So skipping the buddy reads for a second. And two of the books that I'm required to read on there, to read on there, have to do with new releases. Every month you're supposed to read a new release and you have 60 days to get to it. I am behind. By the end of November, so maybe by the time this video has come out, need to read my September new release. And I'll put it up on the screen. I'm getting it from the library. Maybe it's even on off of hold now. I'll put up on the screen what the book is. I don't even remember its name. It is a sci-fi novel that's supposed to be kind of cozy. Sounds interesting. Is it Sunward? I think that's the name. I'm getting it on audiobook. And then that's the new release for September. The new release for October, I just happened to pick up a couple weeks ago at a book crawl, and that is going to be ironically called Crawl. And this came out in October. And so this will be my October new release. And it's a collection of short stories. I definitely need to get that in as well. Okay, what else do I have in here? Oh yeah, okay. Another book that definitely like has to get read and must be on this TBR is The Nutcracker by E.T.A. Hoffman. Actually, it's The Nutcracker and the Mouse King is the full title. This is a bind up of two novellas, The Nutcracker and the Mouse King by Hoffman and The Tale of the Nutcracker by Alexandre Dumas. But I've already read that one. I'm just reading the first book. This is my members book club pick, so that needs to go on. Okay, so I've got 3 out of 10. And then here's where it gets a little like up in the air. One of the books that I'm working on with my friend Alex as a buddy read, that is the third book in a trilogy we're working our way through and would be nice to finish before the end of the year, is Ghost Road, The Ghost Road by Pat Barker. This is book 3 in the Regeneration series. We have read book 1 and 2 together, and you know, it would feel nice to get this in before the end of the year. So that doesn't have to be read. So I'll just put it here in the like strong possibility pile. And then there's a second book that we talked about buddy reading that would make sense to get in before the year is over. Let me go grab it because I know it's still on my bookshelf. Here it is. It's Havisham by Ronald Frame. In the month of November, well, really October and November, for my members book club, we were reading the book Great Expectations. And Alex and I, for the book club, as well as for our high school required reading challenge that we're doing, read Great Expectations and hosted a book discussion, which will probably be up around the same time or go live around the same time that this video is coming out. And we talked about how Havisham is another book that we want our buddy read, and it just makes sense to read it really closely after having read Great Expectations. One of the characters in Great Expectations is Miss Havisham. I feel like she's one of the most memorable characters in the book. And yeah, so this is basically a retelling, I believe from her perspective, or it might just be a telling of her story, since you only get so much of it in the book. So that is another buddy read option. And then I mentioned our high school required reading challenge. So it would be nice in December to get another book off of that. I don't know how realistic that is since we already have 2 other books, but I'll put up on the screen the next book that we have for our high school required reading challenge. Great Expectations was off of my list, so the next one's off of Alex's list. I think it's The Great Gatsby. I have that. Let me go grab it. That was a lie. I don't have it. I was thinking of my son's copy, which I'm not going to use because he annotated in that for high school. I want to annotate my own copy, so I'll have to get that. But that is an option. Let me fix the lighting because it's getting dark outside, partially because it's cloudy and it's snowing. Okay, hopefully we've got better lighting now. All right, here's what we have. These are the books that I definitely need to get to if I don't want to fail out of stuff. These are the books that I'd really like to get to that I plan on buddy reading. And then I don't know where I'll be at by the time this video comes out, but I do currently have a TBR that I need to finish, and I have, I think, just 2 books left on it. One of the books is another buddy read, which is My Brilliant Career, and I'll put up on the screen if I have already finished these books by the time the video comes out. The other one is The Street. And I should put these in this pile because these are books that I'm definitely reading because I'm technically doing my TBR as I go, so I don't want to move on to the next TBR until these are finished. So I'll count them as part of the 10 unless they're already read. So maybe I'll play it safe and make it 12 before the end. Okay. And then on the sly, I've also been creating a stack of books of world literature that I'm trying to work onto a TBR at some point. So it'd be nice to get at least one of those books on this TBR. So let me share what those are. 2 of them are part of a series. They're books from Egypt by an Egyptian author. And this is book 2 and 3 in the Cairo trilogy. Book 2 is Palace of Desire. Book 3 is Sugar Street. And so this is also a series that if I read these 2 books, I would finish. It would be nice to get one of the 2 of these on the TBR. So I'm going to put it there. I have some other books. I needed a book that I think was set in a country that had a very small population, like under 10,000 people. And so I was trying to get a book that I owned. And so I ended up with the Vatican City, which gave me the Pope's Elephant. So we'll see if I can get those on. Any book from this point over is a book that I'm going to consider putting on the 10 before the end. I also have the book Kintu. This is set in, well, I'm not actually sure where it's set. It's set in Africa somewhere, but it was first published in Kenya and is written by a Kenyan author. And it is a retelling of the origins of Uganda, is my understanding. So there's that. I also have a book that is one of the few books that I think is nominated for the National Book Award. And by the time this video comes out, they'll have chosen the winner. But anyway, I think it was on that list, and it's one of the only books off the list that I own, and so I kind of wanted to read it, but it's a little less priority, but it's North Sun. This is about the voyage of the whale ship Esther that I believe is going to the Arctic trying to find whales. It got suggested to me after I read Moby Dick, but it was also a book that had been on my radar, so maybe getting to that. I feel like this is slightly less priority, so I'll put it on the far end. Other books that still have to do with the world literature include reading Waverly by Sir Walter Scott. This is about the Jacobite Rebellion set in 1814. It would be the first work that I've read by Sir Walter Scott. I've also heard pretty good things about that story. I have When I Was Puerto Rican by Esmeralda Santiago. This is a coming of age story, basically. It's a work of nonfiction, a memoir about Esmeralda's life growing up Puerto Rican. My husband read this book years ago and thought it was wonderful. I actually originally bought it for him. He enjoyed it so much, he then read it in Spanish and really thinks I would like it. So maybe at some point I'll get to that. I also have Cancer Award on the list. This is a book that was set in Uzbekistan that came up. And I don't think I've mentioned where this has come up. All these books of world literature have come up. I've been playing a game on the side with my channel members, which is a like reading the world game and selecting books from around the world so that I can knowingly put books from different parts of the world on my TBR. And another one was Hopscotch. This is a book written by an Argentinian author and takes place in Argentina and France, I believe. And I've had that book for a while, so it is a TBR vet, which becomes important. Is that everything? That's everything in there. So that becomes important because the other thing that I have that I've been trying to work on and keep in mind at the end of the year is my bingo board from hell. Now, I've incorporated this into the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do, but in terms of like finishing things up for 2025, I already have a bingo on my bingo board from hell, but I would like to finish as many things off of that as possible because that was what I based my goals for reading goals for 2025 off of. So, let's talk about it. I have three categories on there that are left and they're at varying levels of potentially able to finish them. So let's talk about that. Okay, I had to go collect some more books, so these are not coming out of that bin because it's not Hermione's purse. All right, the first square on there I still have to complete books in is the 25 in 2025 square. And that was where I made myself a list of 25 books that I wanted to read in 2025. I've done pretty well on that list, given that I almost never reference it. So go me. I do still have, let's see, 8 books left off of that list, which I don't think is too bad, but they're not all going to go on this list. So let me show you what I do have, and maybe that'll help me figure some things out. I have Wives and Daughters by Elizabeth Gaskell. I guess this will be another pile over here. We'll just put it on top of ours. I have Year of Wonders by Geraldine Brooks. Titus Groan. The Sorrows of Young Werther. Queen Margot by Alexandre Dumas. Native Son. The Jungle. And the Forsyte Saga, which I feel like has come up so much this year. So I need to choose some from there. I need to choose something from there. Those are the books. I'm not going to get them all on, partially just due to length. In fact, at this point, I should probably tally up for you and put on the screen how many pages these books alone would be. Because I always aim for about 3,000 pages a month just to keep it realistic. But I guess it's going to be 3,000 pages or 10 books, whichever happens first. Oh no, I said I was going to do 12 books because 2 of these I might already have read. Also, off of the bingo board from hell, I'm super behind on underdogs. I think I've read 2 books in that category and I'm just not going to get through it. And that category was for books. I was doing viewer picks towards the beginning of the year where people could vote on which book they wanted me to read off of one of my shelves. And then I titled Underdogs as the books that no one voted for. And I thought it'd be fun to read those and see like if people were just missing out. I've only read 2 of those. How were they? What were they? What rating did I give them? In looking at my list of underdogs that I have left, I do have one of them that's already in these stacks, and that is Palace of Desire. So, oh, oh no, oh, okay. If I take this book and I add that on, then I will have read a book of world literature. I'll also be continuing on in a series because that is the next book I need to read in the series, and it'll be a book that's an underdog. So I think that's definitely going to go on this TBR. What else? Oh, a viewer pick. That's right. I almost forgot. So I was doing viewer picks earlier this year, like I talked about, and I haven't done that in quite a while. And I really kind of missed that. It was kind of fun. It was a chance where you guys got to vote in the comments and decide what book that I'm going to read. So I'm going to let you do that with these stacks here. You're going to get to choose which one you would like me to read. So you've seen them all. You can still see them all here on the screen, and I will put in the description box below the titles of just these books. And then what you need to do is you need to vote down in the comments below by the date that I will put on the screen what book you would like me to read and do a standalone review on. So it'll be the final viewer pick of the year. In fact, depending on when I read it, you might not see the book review until January, but that's not important. What is important is that you will get to pick one of the books that will be on my 10 before the end. So how many do I have so far? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That gives me room to put these two on. 7, 8. How realistic is the number of pages for this? Probably not very. And I was going to go up to 12. So I get to pick 3 more, I guess, because yours would be one of the 12. Okay, I guess I'm going to be taking choices away from you. Looking at these, I can see them on my computer screen over here, which is easier than turning around and looking at them. What are the ones that I really want to put on? And is there anything else? I do have a series. I didn't think about series beyond Palace of Desire because it was on there for something else. I do have a series that I want to finish. I'm okay. I'm going off script. I'm not even looking at these yet. I'm gonna get that book. So even though I met my bingo board from hell requirements, these are kind of getting in the way. I met my bingo board from hell requirements for like reading as many series or working on as many series as I wanted to. But if I read this next book, I will have finished another series, and that would feel good. And that is Margot. This is book 3 in the Lilith's Brood series, novels, whatever it's called, trilogy. And this is by Octavia E. Butler. I have really enjoyed and found fascinating the first 2 books in this series, and I want to read the 3rd one, and I'd love to finish the series. So we're doing it. Okay. I also went and got my calculator. Let's do some math together so that editing me doesn't have to do math later. 258 pages, 275 pages, 356 pages, 422 pages, 253 pages. You know what? Why am I even including this in here? I'm not going to. Because now that I think about it, I'm literally about to start reading this book tomorrow, and this video that you're seeing won't be out for another couple weeks. That's now officially off the list. And this book will be coming out. No, this will have been finished as well. Okay, we're making progress. Oh no, that means I need more books. I'm not making this easy on myself, am I? This is just 61 pages. This is 196 pages. And I think I already mentioned I have 12 pages in this. Okay, so I have 1,580 pages total, which means that I have a total of 1,420. I could have just done that in my head. 1,420 pages left before I tap out. But I've only chosen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 books. Okay, now I only need 10 total since I eliminated the other 2. And then once I've taken off of your 1, I really only need to gather 9. I already have gathered 7, so I just need 2 more books that I get to pick. Okay, out of these piles, Titus Grown, 395 pages. And yeah, this will also count as a TBR vet, but I guess I don't really need that. Was it on my 10 before the end? I mean, 25 and 2025? Yes, it was. So that's helpful. Why am I even looking? I literally just put these all over here, all over there for that purpose. Okay, Titus Grown is definitely going to be one of my other picks. And then I have one more pick. And I'm torn between North Sun, Wives and Daughters, or Kintu. I mean, I'm only at 1,800 pages, so I've got a decent amount of room. I could do Wives and Daughters. I don't know. What kind of books do I already have going? Do I have room for both? Okay, I'm going to put Kintu on. That's 443 pages. And I can do it. I have enough room. I can add wives and daughters. This is 649 pages, something like that. So it still leaves me like just under 100 pages, which is fine. Like, you guys can pick whatever size book you want. But this is it. This is my 9 before the end, plus whichever one you choose to make it 10. So let me show you what I picked again. Here's my stack. So Wives and Daughters, Kintu, Titus Groans, Imago, The Ghost Road, Crawl, The Nutcracker and the Mouse King, Palace of Desire, Havisham, and Clarissa. Super overly ambitious, given that during this time period is probably going to occur both Thanksgiving and Christmas, and my son's coming home, and we're going to see family. I can't do all that, but I'm gonna try. Nobody said it had to be a realistic 10 before the end. But yeah, okay. And then here's what you guys have to choose from. So again, it'll be in the description box below. Vote by the date on the screen just by leaving a comment and saying I vote for whichever book it is, and that will be the one. You cannot vote for the ones that are already on here. Like, it needs to be one of these other ones, and that will be added on. So thank you in advance for helping me decide one of the 10 books that I'm going to read before the end of the year. And stay tuned and let's see if I get it all done. Let me know if you have 10 books that you're trying to get to before the year is over, and I'll talk to you next time.